Hello and welcome to the Press Box. I'm Mark Emerson, and coming up on today's show we have our non-league corner with Luke and Matt and the first ever Newcastle vs Sunderland quiz. But first, joining me on the sofa, the top North East sports writers Ed Sayers and Ben Spratt. This weekend saw the return of the Premier League. Newcastle United took on Queen's Park Rangers at St James's Park and extended their winning run to 6 out of 6 with Moussa Sissoko netting late on. With the Magpies now in 5th, is Europa League a realistic target for them?
Well, you can't fault the form. I mean, 6 wins out of 6-5 in the league. I think that's the form of any team that's going to be chasing for Europe. But form and consistency over the course of a season are very different things as far as I'm concerned. And I don't think Newcastle have shown in the past that they are a consistent side. I mean, Ben said to me earlier, well, they're clearly consistent. They've been very consistent in the last 6 games. But as far as I'm concerned, it's a very different task holding up that consistency throughout the course of a season. That's exactly what they need to do if they want to get Europa League this year.
It was another tight win for Newcastle, another 1-0. It's becoming a bit of a theme now, isn't it?
It is a pattern of kind of Pardew's tenure has been the club haven't really performed throughout the match. It's been kind of 45 good minutes here, good minutes there, and that kind of continued this season, even with them winning games, as they've not scored before the 37th minute in the league, only 3 first-half goals. They kind of appear to be playing on the counter-attack, which is working in their favour, but they're relying on teams coming on to them and then responding to that. But as it continues to work, you can't complain really.
Not at all, and you've got Sissoko who had another great game for them at the weekend. How important is it that players such as Sissoko and Cabella, the big names, they start performing?
Yeah, it's crucial that Sissoko stays fit, he stays at the club, because the last few years we've seen Cabaye and Demba Ba both leave when they were so crucial to the team, and Sissoko's kind of taken up from where Cabaye was and being a really central figure, so it's crucial that he stays there now.
I think it's important as well that Sissoko's playing in the middle where his natural position is. I think in previous years he's been a bit passive for Newcastle, and I think he's played a lot of the time on the right wing, which he isn't really natural at. He's been given the chance to play in his natural position, and he's really repaying the faith that Pardew's shown in him.
Definitely, and we talk about how tight the games have been. The defence has rapidly improved, and we thought there might be a bit of a problem with Colaccini being ruled out injured, but doesn't seem to be so.
Yeah, they've been hugely impressive recently, particularly Daryl Janmaat, new signing, and Paul Dummett, who's really pushed on this season. They've both really excelled in recent weeks, and I think the only real concern is that we've seen with Southampton this weekend, they've got such a strong defence that just one error can kind of affect the whole result, especially when you're only winning a game by 1 goal. You make an error like that and suddenly that turns into a draw or a defeat possibly.
Exactly, and the young players, they are still impressing. We had Jose Perez, he was a good performer at the weekend. How impressive have they been? Really
impressive. There's a lot of young players. There's also a lot of players come through the academy. You mentioned Perez, but as I said, Dummett. There's also Sami Amiobi is really starting to put some form together.
Well, he was vital in the goal. He's won too.
It was a lovely pass through to Sissoko, and there's kind of a production line now of players coming through. Rolando Aarons is impressed. Adam Armstrong got an appearance at the weekend and played well in his cameo. And there's also Callum Roberts was in the squad for the first time. And I was talking to Sean Longstaff, who's in the reserves, the other day, and he was saying about how crucial it is that the reserves have been helped out by likes of Ryan Taylor, Harris Fukic coming down and really helping them out, really giving them advice if they need anything. And with Peter Beardsley there as well, it seems the under-21s are really doing well at the minute, and that's only positive for the first team.
Over in Leicester, Sunderland could only manage a goalless draw at the King Power Stadium. The host hadn't scored in 5 games, and Gus Poyer's men have also been struggling for goals, so it was hardly a surprise to see this game end as a 0-0 draw. Will Poyer see this as 2 points dropped?
Yeah, it wasn't a result that shocked the world. I think 0-0 was probably a fair reflection of how the game went. I think both sides had the chances. From Sunderland's point of view, it's always disappointing that we've played now Burnley, QPR and Leicester. We haven't scored against either of those teams. So you do worry that as a mid-table side, you want to be picking up points against the promoted sides, and Sunderland have struggled with that a little bit this season. But it was one of those games, Sunderland could have lost it, they could have won it. Stephen Fletcher had a very good chance. And I think a draw probably suits both parties.
Like you say there though, they've been getting points against the promoted teams, but you really need to be getting wins against them. Sunderland, they've drawn 7 games, they've lost fewer than all but the top 3 teams, but they've also won fewer than anyone else, and that's got to be a worry. They've got to start turning those draws into wins.
They certainly do, and unfortunately it seems to be from the lack of goals, doesn't it?
Yeah, because Poyet said before the match that he was going to try and increase chances to Stephen Fletcher, and Fletcher's on form. He scored 2 against Crystal Palace. I think he had a very good game against Leicester, albeit he missed that chance. So I think with a striker in form, it makes a huge difference. He can't rely on the midfield to pitch in with goals all the time. Adam Johnson has been fairly erratic with his form recently, and we've got Connor Wickham on the left-hand side who...
What is all that about? You know, we're saying Connor Wickham as this wonder kid, this striker that's going to be an amazing player, and he's stuck on the left wing now.
Well, I feel like he is wasted. I mean, his qualities are he holds the ball up well. I mean, he doesn't necessarily have pace. He doesn't get to the byline and cross the ball. I think what he's trying too hard to do is to be a left winger. What he needs to do is take his strengths, and he knows what those strengths are, and he needs to utilise that in his position. I think he's wasted on the left wing because he's not got a particularly long shot on him. He doesn't do particularly hard work. I mean, I think Poyet's idea was that with Barini leaving, that Wickham might come in and kind of do the Barini role. What Barini did so well last year was that he chased down every ball and he injected a bit of energy into Sunderland's forward line, and Wickham just doesn't have that. So I think with Wickham, if he's not going to be up front, and he's not going to be up front because Stephen Fletcher is on form, he might as well be sitting on the bench.
But there is good news. At the back, the defence has been playing a lot better than the well-documented poor form that it has been in, you know, no one goals. So what's the difference?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, to be honest. I think we've had a lot of injuries on defence. I think the 4 that lined up against Leicester at the weekend are the only 4 fit defenders that Poyet had to choose from. And logically, you would say with no one breathing down the necks, their position in the team is fairly secure at the minute, and you'd say that would probably encourage more mistakes, if anything. But no, fair play to the Sunderland defenders. I think Revier's come in, made his debut against Palace, and is unbeaten in the 3 games that he's played so far. I think he's been fantastic. Playing left back as well, which isn't his natural position. Virginia at right back as well, it's not his natural position. Wes Brown, I'm being a bit critical, still hasn't had a brilliant game. He made 1 or 2 mistakes against Leicester. And I think a big difference actually is Costel Pantilimon came in to replace Vito Manoni, who, at the start of the year, I think Pantilimon played against Stoke in the League Cup and he looked awful. So I don't know what's happened there. He's come in and he looks like a completely different man. But that entire back 5, I think, no changes in the last 3 games. I think it's showed by the results that Sunderland have got. Good,
and the injury list seems to be shortened, and we've got Sebastian Coates looking like he could be making a return shortly.
Yeah, I think that list is definitely shortening. Coates due to play for the under-21s today against Blackpool. That'll be his first appearance since that Stoke game that I mentioned. Pantilimon played, and Billy Jones as well, who's played well at right back in the few games that he's had so far. He was unfortunate to pick up an injury, so he's coming back. Still without Van Arnholt, so left back is going to be Revier. He's pretty much the only player who can play there at the minute. But yeah, I think Ricky Alvarez, Emmanuel Jaccarini are coming back slowly but surely. So hopefully with a tough run of fixtures coming up, I think we can exploit the fact that we've got some players back.
Now it's time to take a trip over to non-league corner with Matt and Luke. Goals, own goals and dodgy debuts. It's been an eventful week in the North East non-league scene. Myself and Matt will catch up on the FA VARs action shortly, but meanwhile we'll start with Gateshead. In a thriller down at Plainmoor, the Heat scored 2 late goals which looked to have secured a first win in 4 league games, but a rare mistake from Adam Bartlett in the closing minutes ensured Torquay grabbed the point, leaving Gateshead 5th and 11 points off top spot. Disappointing not to get all 3 given the 2 late goals, Matt?
Well, I think so, yeah. They scored their equaliser with just 4 minutes left on the clock, and then went into the 89th minute and got the goal that put them 2-1 up. But you know, conceding that goal in stoppage time was a real kick in the teeth for Gateshead, and they'll be frustrated not to get 3 points. Having said that, Torquay is a tough place to go. As it's such a big trip for them. Obviously, Gateshead to Torquay is will be one of the biggest trips in the conference. So all things considered, before the game, I think they would have taken a point, and coming away from the match, they can't complain too much on that scale.
But the defence is looking a bit of a problem, isn't it? With 1 clean sheet and conceded 17 games in the last 11 games. Is that a bit of an issue for a side that want to chase promotion?
Well, I think so. I mean, at the moment, it's costing them points, so of course it's an issue. I think in games, if they're going to win games 3-2, 4-2, it's not an issue. They'll be happy to do that. If they're going to outscore teams and win games, then I don't think it's a problem they need to look at too much. But at the moment, they're dropping points from being in winning situations. They've had a lot of 1-1 draws in that period as well, and I think if they'd have won if they'd have gone on to win those games 1-0, then they'd be right up with Barnet at the top of the league.
And that wasn't helped by the fact they had James Curtis missing at centre half on Saturday. They brought someone new in, and he had a bit of a nightmare, didn't he?
Yeah, it was Jokai, the new Swiss defender, came in and he conceded the penalty in the 7th minute, and then ended up getting sent off as well into stoppage time. So it was a bit of a nightmare debut for him. But Gary Mills actually after the game said he thought he did quite well in actual fact. So I think coming in to the English game and adapting in one match and in 1 week is not an easy thing to do. But it really was a debut to forget, I think, for Jokai.
And on Saturday they've got Dover up next too. Despite their league position, they might have the mind elsewhere.
Yeah, they've got the FA Cup fixture coming up soon as well. But Dover themselves are unbeaten in 7 matches. So again, it's not an easy fixture for Gateshead. Look, I think they've climbed the table in recent weeks, Dover, and they're just looking to keep doing that and to keep making the step up the division. So for Gateshead, it's a game that they'll be hoping to win, but again, it won't be an easy one.
Mm-hmm. Now on to Blythe, and the Spartans won at Croft Park in the first home league game for nearly 3 months. They raced into a 3-goal lead against Kings Lynn, who were near the playoff places, but conceded twice to ensure a nervy ending. They got the win, but it was tight in the end, wasn't it?
It was really tight. I mean, going into a 3-goal lead, I don't think anyone would have expected them to be that nervous at the end. And they had their chances to score a 4th and possibly 5th after that, but they didn't take them, and in the end it nearly cost them. But to see the game out was the important thing, and obviously, as you say, they haven't had too many league games recently, so to get the 3 points was absolutely vital for Tom Wade's men.
And it's that front three of Robbie Dale, Jarrett Rivers and Dan Maguire that's going to take them up the league, that need to get themselves away from those relegation spots.
It is, certainly. I think we've talked about Robbie Dale. He's paramount to their team, the skipper, and Dan Maguire's an obvious threat from that centre forward role. But I think Jarrett Rivers, who we haven't spoken about too much recently, I think he's come into the side. He's one of those players that didn't start the season in the team. I think Aaron Wearmouth took that position on the right-hand side, but Rivers came in, fought for his place, and he scored a few goals as well. Scored 4 or 5 already this season, and he's a youngster that was on the books of Newcastle, and I think he's a real attacking threat and a real danger man for Blythe. And if he stays fit and keeps firing, then he'll be a real key player for them in the new year.
And just looking a little bit further ahead to the FA Cup game a week on Friday against Hartlepool, they're in terrible form in League Two, and Blythe are in good form. Is that possibly because of their cup run, maybe give them a little bit of confidence and galvanise the form in the league?
Yeah, so I think the cup run really has galvanised the league form, as you say. I think, listen, whatever competition you're playing in, if you're winning games, you want to keep that run going. So it's something that Blythe have done, and hopefully they can continue that into the Hartlepool game. But, having said that, Hartlepool are a few divisions above Blythe, and they're having bad form, but it's a one-off game. The FA Cup can spring surprises everywhere, so I wouldn't say Blythe are going to be anywhere near favourites for that just because of their league form. Hartlepool will take that because of their Football League side, but it's certainly a game that they're going to go into with massive confidence. I think that match as a whole, though, non-league clubs go to professional clubs in cup games like the FA Cup a lot of the time and think first half we just want to kill the game and try and attack them in the second half. I don't think that's going to be Blythe's way. I think they're going to really attack from the first whistle, and I think that's the only chance they've got of being successful in that game if they really go for them.
And as we say, anything can happen in the FA Cup. Our first set of highlights come from the EBAC Northern League. Jamie Goodenough reports.
Jarrow Roofing faced West Allotment Celtic for the second time in a month in the EBAC Northern League Division 1, and fortuitously took the lead on 15 minutes when Paul King's long throw was flicked on by Dan Kirkhope, before Celtic's John Pendlebury inadvertently headed past keeper Ryan Beale. Hardly the ideal start for the league's third leakiest defence this season. As half-time drew near, Celtic almost levelled when Liam Hudson picked up the ball and ran at the Roofers' defence, unleashing a wicked left-foot shot that the recalled Andy Hunter did well to parry. Just a few minutes after the break, Sean Reid curled a free kick over the Jarrow wall, and Mark Fennick was the first to react when the ball rebounded off the post, calmly placing it past the stranded Hunter. With daylight fading, the relief was clear to see when, on 72 minutes, Alex White rose to meet a Paul King corner, placing his header between Beale and the defender on the post to give the visitors a 2-1 lead. With the roofing striker John Campbell watching on ahead of his move to Oxford, Replacement Malky Morian should have wrapped up the 3 points when he shimmied onto his left foot but dragged the shot wide. Jarrow found themselves under increased pressure after Sean Vypen got his second yellow card with 13 minutes to go, but they sealed the victory in added time when Alex White found Lewis Teasdale, who spun his defender and squeezed a shot past Beale at the second attempt, sealing the double for the Roofers over Celtic this season. The win keeps Jarrow 5th place in the table, 9 points behind leaders West Auckland Town, having played half their league fixtures this season.
Win there for 10-man Jarrow Roofing, and it was a good debut for their new signing.
Yeah, Malky Moran, who they brought in from Blythe Town, really good debut for him, and he's proved at Blythe that he can find the back of the net, and at any level, if you've got a player that can do that, it's always going to be a positive for the side.
And he's come in to replace John Campbell, who we think may go before Thursday's loan deadline. How much of a blow is that for Jarrow Roofing?
I think it's a big one, but if Moran can step into fill his boots and score their goals, then it shouldn't be too much of a problem. But for John Campbell, it's a great opportunity if he does end up going to, it looks like it could be Oxford at the moment for him before Thursday's deadline. I think it's a massive opportunity for him. Michael Apperton's clearly done his research there, and he's a big fan of Campbell. And 24 goals in 19 games, whatever level you're playing at, if you score that kind of ratio, then you're a proven goal scorer, and hopefully you can do it further up the divisions.
And although they would have liked to keep hold of him, can't really stand in his way, can they, for such an opportunity?
No, I don't think so. I think Campbell will have pushed that move through, and I don't think Jarrow are really in any position to say to him, stick around here. I think if he goes on and score goals at Oxford, everyone at Jarrow will just be really pleased to see him doing well.
Away from the trials and tribulations of the league, some clubs are still chasing glory in the cup. North Shields are flying in the league, but turn their attention to the FA Vars this weekend, as Jamie Goodenough reports.
North Shields travelled to Sunderland RCA in the second round of the FA Vars. An early Shields clearance was poorly dealt with by RCA's Luke Richardson, who headed straight into the path of the on-rushing Gareth Bainbridge, but his attempted lob lacked power. A forward foray for the Ryhope side then saw James Armstrong's volley brilliantly repelled by Christopher Bannon in the visitors' goal. 5 minutes into the second period, North Shields grabbed the first goal of the game when Bainbridge was played in by Kieran Wrightson and finished well to put his side ahead. And Shields doubled their lead 5 minutes later when Denver Morris profited on a loose ball in the box and squared for Bainbridge to sweep home his second. Shields put the result beyond doubt with a third on the counter-attack. Bannon's throw freed Morris on the left, who combined with James Luckett to set up Bainbridge for his hat-trick. This was the 29-year-old's 12th strike of an outstanding month, making it 26th for the campaign. The game petered out, and Graham Fenton's men booked their place in the third round, where they face a trip to Seaham Red Star.
North Shields are on fire recently, as we spoke about just before, doing well in the league and now a cup win, and they've had another boost as well, haven't they, this week?
Yeah, they have, with their goal scorer Gareth Bainbridge committing himself to the club on Twitter, and that's a massive boost for them. The fact that he's going to stick around there, he's firing them in at the moment with a hat trick at the weekend against Sunderland RCA in the FA Vars. So he's a massive player for them, just as Campbell was for North Shields and for Jarrow Roofing, and North Shields are going to be pleased that they're going to be keeping hold of him.
Historically, the FA Vars has been a great competition for North East clubs, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. Five out of the last 6 winners have been from the region, and I think Whitley Bay have won it 4 times themselves. So, and Sunderland play at Seaham Red Star in the next round, who are obviously another North East club, doing well down in Division 2 in the Northern League. They've won their last 12 matches in there, so it's not going to be an easy game for North Shields, and but they'll still be hoping to progress.
Thanks for your company as always in Non-League Corner. We'll have reporters at Gateshead's game with Dover, as well as our usual action and reaction from other games. See you next week. Thanks, lads. Now it's time for another new feature here on the Press Box, and that's for North East Player of the Week. This week it's going to go to Gareth Bainbridge for his hat-trick at Sunderland RCA in the FA Vars. Well done, Gareth. Now it's time for the quiz. On my right, joining Ed Sayers on Sunderland's team, we've got Alistair Cement. And on my left, joining Ben Spratt on the Newcastle team, we have Sean McCormick. The rules are simple. Press their buzzers if they know the answers, And for every team they get regarding their own team, they get 1 point. But if they steal another answer from their opposing sides, they get 2 points. So, fingers on buzzers. Are we both ready, guys?
Yep.
Question number 1. Which Sunderland footballer holds the record for the most appearances in their club? Sunderland.
Phil Bardsley.
Phil Bardsley. I'm afraid that's incorrect. We'll have to pass it over to Newcastle.
Jim Montgomery.
With 627 appearances, Jim Montgomery is the correct answer. Yes. Question number 2. What is the capacity to the nearest 1,000 of St James's Park? Newcastle.
52,000.
52,000 is the correct answer. Question number 3. What are the stage names of Sunderland and Newcastle's fans who took part in the famous dance-off?
Macamoova and the Geordie Dancer.
Correct.
Boom.
Question number 4. Who is the longest serving Premier League manager of Newcastle United? We'll have to go Sunderland.
Alan Pardew.
Afraid that's incorrect. We'll have to pass it over to Newcastle. It's a home question.
Bobby Robson.
That is correct. He's actually been in charge for 255, which is only 4 more games than Kevin Keegan. So Alan Pardew was nowhere near. Question number 5. Who is the longest serving Premier League manager for Sunderland? Newcastle.
Peter Reid.
With 353 games, Peter Reid is the correct answer. Moving on to question number 6 now. Newcastle, you seem to be taken away with this lead. Name 3 teams that Sunderland beat in their 2013 Capital One Cup run. Sunderland.
Chelsea, Southampton, Man United.
Could have also had Peterborough and MK Dons. That is correct. Next question. To the nearest 1,000, what is the capacity of the Stadium of Light? Sunderland.
49,000.
49,000 is correct. Coming back into it, Sunderland. Who is the all-time Newcastle top goal scorer? Newcastle.
Alan Shearer.
Do you know how many goals he got?
206.
206 is correct, and Alan Shearer is correct. Moving on. Who did Sunderland sign legendary goal scorer Kevin Phillips from? Sunderland.
Watford.
Correct. And the final question. Who is Newcastle United's record transfer signing? Sunderland.
Michael Owen.
How much for?
17 million.
Give you the Mike Loan bit. It's 15 million for Mike Loan. But they've got the Mike Loan bit, and that is the end of the quiz. So we're going to go over. Someone's just totting it up now for me. With 6 points, we have Sunderland. But winners today with 7 points are Newcastle.
Ah, dear.
Which one?
Done.
Commiserations to Sunderland. So we're going to have another quiz next week for you. That's the end of the Press Box quiz, and therefore the end of the show. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our Twitter page and our YouTube channel. But until next time, goodbye.